So one of the sugyas that I want to discuss and go into, maybe we'll discuss a little bit about B'tochen today, which we haven't really got into until now. We discussed a little bit about Emunah and Hashem, but also B'tochen. First of all, again, a refuah shlema to Elisheva Bas Sora, a Giyores who's tremendously full of Emunah, tremendous positivity within her own illness. She should have a refuah shlema b'soich sha chole Yisrael. So we're in the sugya of Emunah. Emunah being living with the Rabbeinu Shalom, understanding who runs the world, understanding who created the world and who keeps the world from going, and that full Emunah in Hashem. And we describe so many times how a person can really have a very different life by having Emunah in Hashem. A person, if he trusts and understands that there is a Rabbeinu Shalom. I mentioned this story. I don't know how many of you heard it. I mentioned this story. I think it was a couple of weeks ago in my Parsha video. I heard this one time a number of years ago about an F-15 fighter jet pilot who once explained that the F-15s travel the same speed as the speed of sound, right? Now, the speed of sound is very, very fast, not as fast as light, but it's, very, very fast. Not that we would know the difference between the speed of sound and the speed of light, but there obviously is a difference, but the difference is very, very minute. But speed of sound is very, very, very fast. And these planes travel at such an incredible speed that the pilot said that sometimes they don't know the difference between what is what's the Shemayim and what's the Oretz. Where is the ceiling? Where's heaven and where's earth? They don't know. It's just traveling too quickly. They don't even know sometimes which direction they're traveling. And now you can understand to travel in such a situation is very dangerous, because if you don't know which direction and if you're upside down or not, can cause catastrophic results. So what did they do? And he said a big yesod, which I took from for our own lives, and he said that what we do is we learn to trust totally the computer in front of us. There's a computer in front of us that shows us if we're upside down or we're not upside down, which direction, how many degrees, everything. We learn to place our full trust on that machine. Now that's very hard, by the way, because it's a machine, the machine makes mistakes. But at the end of the day, there is no other choice. When you're traveling that fast, you have to put your trust in something. And I said that it's the same thing with our own lives. We're traveling also fast. Sometimes we have no time to think. We have to learn to put our trust in something. As you said many times, the Chovis Halavavos brings down that when a person puts his trust into something else, the Rabbeinu Shalom removes his, so to speak, his shmirah, and then he says, okay, you want to trust that person? No problem, go have it. And that's very dangerous. Nobody here wants to be under a human being. We want to be under the Rabbeinu Shalom. And therefore, what we have to learn to do in anything that comes our way is to trust. I don't remember if I said this before, but I'm going to say it again because Asher said we need to do Chazara. And that is the famous Yisod for Rabbi Yisrael Salanta, right? Rabbi Yisrael Salanta once traveled to a place, and I think I did mention this, right? Did I mention this? I mentioned this in the last year. I don't remember. It's been a while, like you said. It's been a week and a half, whatever. I'm going to say it again, because Chazara is also good. And he traveled to a place, and there was a maskil, right? A maskil was someone that tried to get people out of Yiddishkeit and get them to follow all sorts of, terrible movements. And Rabbi Yisrael Salanta tried to get him to change his ways. And amongst other things, Rabbi Yisrael Salanta mentioned to him the Gewaldige Nissen that the Rabbeinu Shalom did for us in Mitzrayim. Now the Rabbeinu Shalom, anyone that learned the parashas and the Torah, which is all of us, anyone that sat through a Seder night, which is all of us, and especially if you go through the Ramban as well, in the end of Parashas Bo, he mentioned the Gewaldige Nissen. The Rabbeinu Shalom did Nissen for us that never happened before. These things never they never appeared. They never happened. It was tremendous. And the maskil said, you know what? I don't believe you. I don't believe you. He said, what do you mean don't believe me? So why doesn't Hashem do these things nowadays? I want to see these Nisim nowadays. Are you telling me thousands of years ago Hashem did a Nisim at Mitzrayim, Eli? Come on. I want to see the Nis now. Yeah? So Rabbi Saul decided not to answer him. And in the meantime, this young daughter came back from school and she showed her father a diploma from the dancing school that she goes to say she has a diploma in dancing. I did say it, right? So I'm just going to say it again quickly for those people that were not there. And she's like, look how proud. Rabbi Saul Salanta interjects and says, excuse me, I don't believe it. So what do you mean you don't believe it? I don't believe you could dance. Could you prove it now? Right? Could you prove it? She's like, chutzpah, I should prove it to you. I have a diploma. I did it then for the judges. I can do it. I don't have to do it again for you. Said Rabbi Sallallahu to the Rebbeinu Shalom did it for us all those years ago. He doesn't have to keep on doing it for us. In other words, we don't have to constantly see the nisim to believe and trust in the Rebbeinu Shalom. Okay? I don't know if anyone has ever walked into a cockpit of an aeroplane. Right? Most of you were born after 9/11. Were most of you born after 9/11? All of you were born after 9/11?
Yeah.
Wow.
They also, if like when you're kids, they lie.
Right, sometimes they lie. So, okay.
So
When I was growing up in the middle of the flight, you could walk in and you could schmooze to the pilot and take pictures, and it was exciting. Yeah, it was like a bus, it wasn't a big deal. Anyway, so could you imagine if one kid walks into the cockpit and he says, ooh, what does that button do? Right, the pilot's going to be like, it's a cute little kid, just, yeah. Like, what do you, I can't explain to you what that button does, because that button goes together with that dial, and that dial is connected to that switch, and it's one big, It's like the Chofetz Chaim famously said, a Modika Marshal, listen to this Marshal. Chofetz Chaim said, a guy walks into a shul he never walked into before, and he saw the Gabbai giving out aliyahs, and he thought it's a chutzpah. Because he gave that guy, he gave that guy, and he gave that guy. It's like, I don't understand. Why'd you miss the guy next to him? And why'd you miss him? And what? The guy laughed at him and said, I don't understand. Where have you been? You just walked in this Shabbos. Did you know that last Shabbos that guy had an aliyah? Did you know that the Shabbos before it was his yortzeit, so therefore you don't know what's going on. You can't just walk into shul one Shabbos and say, hey, why are you doing it in that order? But you know what? We do the same thing. We walk into the world and we say, Rebbeinu Shalom, why do you do this? Rebbeinu Shalom, why does this happen? And the Rebbeinu Shalom Kaviyachal laughs and says, my little Ziskite, my little beautiful Neshamala, I love you dearly, but you don't understand because you just walked into the world after thousands of years of this world being created and being existing. You can't just decide you know what's going on and what's better and what's not better, but yet we do the same thing. We think we understand, we think we know, but that's not the case. We have to come to the realization, and this is what Emunah is. This is Emunah. Emunah means we don't understand, but that's okay. And people that have even a high level of Emunah sometimes struggle with the concept of suffering in this world. People often wonder, why? Why do we suffer? And sometimes the answer is we don't know. We just had the parsha, right? Vayigash. In Parshas Vayigash, what happened? Yosef HaTzadik got up and he said, Ani Yosef. And all the brothers like, whoa, that's incredible. What were they so worried about? Because the brothers came into Mitzrayim. You have to understand. They came into Mitzrayim. These were big tzaddikim. They came into Mitzrayim. They were, threatened of being spies. Spies? What are we spying? They had to bring Binyamin, like, what's going on? Younger brother, all these things going on. Didn't make sense. And then all of a sudden, Yosef HaTzadik gets up and says, Ni Yosef. Everything here makes sense. Zog the Chofetz Chaim. That's what's going to happen b'Seif Yomov. We live in a world that we just don't understand. We live in a world that we think we know, but we don't. We don't understand what's going on. We want to understand, we try, but we don't understand. But we have to realize we don't understand. And Zog the Chofetz Chaim, one time, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to stand up b'Seif Yomov at the end of time and say, Ani Hashem. And everything's going to make sense. And then we're like, now I get it. That's the Yesod, Rabbi say. We have to realize, and we have to understand as well, that the Medrash tells us, who was the first person to ask the question, which many of us struggle with? Why do good people have a hard life? Very good. The Medrash said, Moshe Rabbeinu asked the Rebbeinu Shalom, Hareinu na es kvodecha, show me your glory. What does that mean? Says the Medrash, he wanted to understand the concept of tzaddik v'ra rasha v'tov. That Rishonim sometimes have such a good life. They're living a good, easy life. It doesn't make sense. These guys are Rishonim. They do everything wrong in the world and having a great time. And the tzaddikim are suffering. The tzaddikim are having a hard life. What's that? Why did the good die young? Why did the good have such hard lives? Why did they go through such experiences? Moshe Rabbeinu didn't understand. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, Rabbeinu Shalom, answer me the question. And what did Hashem answer? Lo sucha liras es ponei ki lo yu'ani ha'odom v'choy. No human being can see me and live, which, as we understand from Chazal, means you can't understand my ways and still be alive. Maybe in the next world, in Olam HaEmes, when you're up there, maybe then you'll understand something. But down in this world, it doesn't make sense. It's like a tapestry. I remember I was once had the schos of being by a Sudas Haidah from parents that made a Sudas Haidah on their child that got leukemia. And they made a Sudas Haidah after, I think it was 10 years, when it was like the old clay. They made a Sudas Haidah, and it was an incredible thing because Rahman al-Aleinu, we should never know. But to have a child that had leukemia is a terrible, terrible, terrible tragedy, and it's a terrible nisayon. And yet, they made a Sudas Haidah. You know what the father got up and he said, life is like a tapestry. I still remember it. What's a tapestry? When you take a needle and a thread, and you go in and out, and you weave in, and try to make a picture. If you go to the other side, the side that doesn't have the picture, what do you see? A mess. You see a whole bundle of threads going this way, threads going that way. It looks like a big, gigantic mess. You turn it around, and you see a beautiful picture. Wow. That's what this life looks like. Down in this world, it looks like a mess of threads of colors going in different directions. But to the Rabbeinu Shalom in the Olam HaEmes, where everything is emes and everything is true, everything is perfect. Because the Rabbeinu Shalom is perfect. We have to learn to live with that. That is what's so important. Now, in order to do that, we also have to have bitachon. And that's what I want to mention now today, just for a few minutes, to realize that if you have bitachon in your life, you have a different life. Because imagine, we mentioned this mashal all the way in the beginning, if you remember, the two guys coming from Bnei Brak to Yerushalayim on the bus. Anyone remembers that? Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Huh? That's one that we. Oh, very good. Okay, so that might still be said. Everyone knows that one. Now, why do we say that one? Because you have a choice how you live your life. There are those people out there.
It's perspective.
It's perspective. There are those people that live life and they're nervous people. Nervous people don't have emunah and bitachon. Why? Because they're always nervous. What's going to be with this? What's going to be with this? Why is this happening? They're always nervous. Chabal. You can live a life of peace and tranquility. Does that mean it's going to be easy? No. There are going to be frustrations. There are going to be hurdles. There's going to be challenges, because that's what life is. But you know how to cope with them, because you have bitachon. And that's what we're doing over here. We're strengthening our emunah, we're strengthening our bitachon, not only our belief in Hashem, but now we move on to the next sugya, which is bitachon, which is trust in Hashem. Not only do we know that the Rabbeinu Shalom exists, but we also know the Rabbeinu Shalom wants the best for us. As we've said many times, and I'm going to say it again until you remember this forever. Why do we say Avinu Malkeinu? Right? We say it at Sesame Tshuva. We say it every fast day. We say it during Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Why do we say Avinu and Malkeinu? Why do we use both Lashonos? It's like a little bit superfluous, right? We've got Avinu and Malkeinu. And the answer is, because Avinu is our father. Every father loves his child. And every father wants the best for his child. But not necessarily does the father have the resources in order to do whatever he can. Doesn't have the money, doesn't have the connections, doesn't have the energy, whatever it may be. What's Malkeinu? Malkeinu is a melech, our melech. A king has all the money in the world, has all the power in the world, has all the influence in the world. He can do whatever he wants. But not necessarily does he want to. When you say that the Rabbeinu Shalom is Avinu Malkeinu, the Rabbeinu Shalom is our Father, He loves us, He wants the best for us. And Malkeinu, He can afford it and do whatever He wants, and you put them together, you've got the greatest source in the world. And that's your Father. Can you imagine, says Rav Shimshon Pinkus, if you are on a bus and you see a guy who's got tattered shoes, tattered pants, his suit is half off, it looks like a mess. You know what you're going to feel? You're going to feel really bad for him. Nebuch, he's got no money. Nebuch, when was the last time he had a good, nice, bowl of chicken soup? Nebuch. I'll ask you the following question. What happens if he had the winning ticket, the lottery ticket in his pocket, that was winning $6.4 million cash, and he's on the way to fetch it? What would you feel for him? Would you feel really rachmanis for him? I don't think so. But what do you mean? Tattered shoes? Tattered, torn pants? The answer is no. He's got the winning ticket. He's got the winning ticket. When you have bitachon in Hashem, when you trust that the Rebbeinu Shalom loves you, cares for you, wants to give you the best, then you're that man with a winning ticket. You have the greatest source of everything in the world. You have the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Melech Malchei Hamlochim, on your side. And he loves you. And he wants the best. So why didn't he give it to you? You may not deserve it. Maybe you didn't daven for it. Maybe not yet. Whatever it may be, there may be many reasons why. But ultimately, if you know that you have the Melech Malchei Hamlochim, you've got the Rebbeinu Shalom who created the world, who keeps the world going, and he is in charge, and he loves me, cares for me, wants the best for me, and will give me whatever I need if I ask for it and it's good for me, so then I'm never worried. What are you worried about? Oh, the business deal didn't go through. Who cares? It's obviously what Hashem wanted. Oh yeah, I missed the bus. Who cares? Half the things go through our lives that we get frustrated about, that we get upset about, that we get angry about, will all fall away. It's the biggest advantage of having bitachon. Peace of mind, of the realization that there's a Rebbeinu Shalom and that he loves us and he wants the best for us and he's there for us. That's what we have to work on. Rabbi Say, exercise for today. When you're walking around, not when you're learning, you're thinking about your learning and you're busy. When you're walking upstairs to the dorms, or when you're walking outside to get some fresh air, when you're walking to the dining room, whatever you're doing, take a moment of your life, exercise for today, and think. Just picture for a moment. You could do it during Shemona Esrei also. You could do it right before Mincha. You could do it after Mincha. You could do whatever you want. And just think, Rebbeinu Shalom, I know that you love me. I know that you care for me. I know that you're there for me. It's the greatest thing when a person feels that he's got someone to lean on, and he's got someone who will help him, who loves him, who cares for him, who has all the money in the world. And if he didn't give it to you yet, it's because you don't deserve it, or it's because it's not good for you. So therefore it's good for you. Okay? So Rabbi say, yes, there are going to be challenges. I'm not saying if you have Emunah B'tochen, you're going to have an easy life. We've said many times, everything's in a saying. But we have to remember and we have to live with this. B'tochen gives us the trust in the Rebbeinu Shalom. Not trust in your boss, not trust in the paycheck, not trust in your shares or your stocks, nothing. Pure Rebbeinu Shalom. Because then you realize that everything's from Hashem. Okay? Mitzvah Hashem, tomorrow we shall continue. Wait, we're not finished. Everyone's running. Everyone's very tired today. Why? So the trick is to push yourself going until the end, and then by tonight you'll be
Right now I'm
My lunch, you're going to sleep?
Rabbi, I fought myself to go to sleep right now. Rabbi, I'm sick as a dog.
So sit down, we're not going anywhere. Wait, we didn't finish yet.
I just lost my mind.